Hello, and welcome back to the Little Big Sister podcast. I'm your host, Eva Joelle, and this week's stories themes are mothers. I only felt like it was right to do like a mothers themed episode based on the fact that Mother's Day was literally yesterday. So happy Mother's Day to those that celebrate, to those who, maybe don't have their mothers with them anymore. I am a part of that club. And then also to people who maybe don't have the best relationships with their mothers or mothers-in-law or, are just learning and growing together. But this week's episode, you're in for a good one, guys, okay? Because the first story comes from Best of Redditors Updates and is titled, Am I the asshole for disowning my wife's daughter after she chose her mom's affair partner over me? So this seems like it may be being written from a dad's point of view. And I feel like it's only right just to go into the original post before we go into the update, okay? So let's read the original post together. Am I the asshole for disowning my wife's daughter after she chose her mother's affair partner over me? I, 35 male, met my now soon-to-be ex-wife, 35 female, during uni 12 years ago. Oh my gosh, it's coming from London. Based on the use of the word uni, I can only assume that this is like a European couple, in which I will continue to read the rest of this story in a really bad British accent. No, I won't. I'm so sorry. That's probably going to be really annoying, but oh well. She already had a kid when she was 19, but the dad left as soon as she started a uni. We were dating for 3 months before I met her daughter, Lisa. I'm not going to do a British accent. I remember seeing her family for the first time. I was nervous meeting her parents, but when I saw a little girl beside her mom, I was confused. I asked her if that was her little sister or cousin of hers, and her answer shocked me. When she told me that that's her daughter, I thought I misheard her or something. At first, I wanted to dump her for hiding something so crucial for me, but she kept on begging for me to stay, and eventually I relented, and soon enough, I started to fall in love with her daughter and wanted to be her father figure. Aw. The father that stepped up. Our bond grew stronger over the years, and in early 2019, before the pandemic hit, we got married. In late 2021, I adopted Lisa, and in early 2022, my wife gave birth to our son, Mark. After my son was born, my wife made the choice to stay at home for the time being, and I was completely fine with that. Everything was going perfect until a few months ago. I started noticing my wife increasingly spending time with her friends. Friends are put in like apostrophes. What is that called? Apostrophes. At the time, I didn't say anything since in my mind, being at home all day probably meant had probably been eating at her, and I didn't want to seem controlling. The thing that made me suspicious was her constant texting and going out of the room for calls. She never did that for anyone besides this one friend of hers. I asked her about it, and she gave me some vague answers about gossip. Okay, why can't I know the gossip? That's the one thing that, like, as I get older, I have just come to the conclusion that, like, you know what? If I tell my friend, my homegirl, some gossip, I expect her to tell her man. Like the gossip is for you and your man. Because if you tell me gossip, I probably am going to go tell my man. Unless you specifically tell me, like, don't tell him and there's, like, a valid reason to not tell him. But that is very few and far between. But anyways, continuing with the story. The moment that took it too far, though, was when I came home last week, saw her outside talking on the phone. This wasn't out of the ordinary. I remember seeing my son on the floor crying alone. I was pissed at my wife for just leaving him alone in the house, but when I went to pick him up and smelled the horrible stench coming from him, I was beyond furious. His diaper seemed like it hadn't been changed since that morning. I quickly changed his diaper and rushed outside with him in my arms. I was beyond pissed. I snatched her phone from her hand and bolted back inside. I locked my wife outside to have a talk with this friend of hers alone. I had my suspicions about who it really was, and when I heard a male voice calling out her name and asking who was there, I immediately knew what was going on. He ended the call as soon as he heard my voice and then proceeded to lock the front door. I then proceeded to lock the front door to make sure my wife couldn't enter the house at all, and proceeded to screenshot as much of their chat as I could and then sent them to myself before deleting them on her phone. Oh my goodness. About 5 minutes later, she was still banging on the glass door leading to the backyard. I reluctantly opened it and was met with a smack in the face. Remember, all of this is happening while I'm holding my toddler in my arms. As soon as she realized what she had did, she apologized profusely, started crying, and tried to hug me. I pushed her away and told her to meet me at the dining table. I told my daughter to quickly take care of the baby so daughter as in his stepdaughter, OP's wife's daughter, the one that he adopted. Because daughter is in parentheses, so I just want not parentheses, quotation marks, just to clarify that. I told my daughter to quickly take care of the baby so me and her mom could have a quick chat. I wonder how old the daughter is at this point, because like after like 8, 9, like kids start to remember these things, right? So it's like, is this like a formative? Are we like reading a formative moment in this daughter's life? You know, which is a little weirdly sad and like weird. I don't know. I just keep it simple. I told her that this was her only chance to even have a sliver of a chance of getting me back. If she fucked up this talk, it was over on the spot. No lies, nothing. Period, OP. You know what? I like the way OP moves, okay? Look, I hate to agree with the man, but OP is moving swimmingly, phenomenally. She kept on trying to apologize and to say it wasn't that serious. I reminded her that she not only fucked me over, she could have easily done serious harm to our baby by leaving him alone in the house like that. I then simply asked who, for how long, and did they fuck? She replied with her ex-boss Daniel, 6 months, and she didn't answer the last one. So I kept on reminding her that this was her last chance. She then just simply nodded. I then asked her if they used protection. To this, she started crying and started begging me for forgiveness. She said she could block him, then there would never be contact with him again. I could fuck any woman I want from now on, yada, yada, yada. Sorry. I'm blowing out my own mic with my level of anger that I feel, because can we just let's just pause. There's still a lot of the story that's left, okay? But let's just pause here for a quick second. There is something so sinister already about cheating on someone that not only like you are married to, not only that took your kid in, that is for the most part of what we've gotten from this story seems like a really good person, but then to cheat and to not use protection and to put not only your health as a slimy, dirty cheater, but to put my health as your partner in danger, it's like there's something just so evil and disgusting about that as a whole. But then it's like at the same time, how could you even expect somebody that already is low enough to cheat on someone to even have the respect to like care about your health, right? It's like they're already they are already making horrible decisions. They already don't give a fuck about you. And then just to like not give a fuck about your health as well, just is like absolutely fucking sickening to me. And like that's kind of like the worst part about cheating, in my opinion, is not only necessarily like, okay, my relationship is over and now I have to go back into the dating world and I have to be heartbroken and I have to like heal the hurt and the trust and like whatever like emotional and mental like effects of cheating has on a person. But the fact that like, oh, I can do everything so safe when it comes to like sexual health and my sexual being, and I could still just be fucked over by my partner if they decided to be disgusting and to be dirty. And so that's why it's like, I always remember what my mom told me like really early and young on, which was just like, be careful who you sleep with and who you have children with, because like that matters more than fulfilling the societal made pressure of like having children because you are a woman. Like because you're a woman, you need to have children. No, I want to just be so safely and happily in love that the only viable next decision is like, oh, okay, we're gonna have a kid. Or we decide like, you know what, we're gonna be child free, we're gonna live our best fucking lives, and like that's our path, and that's also okay. But like like I'm more pissed about the fact that like, okay, not only did you cheat on me and we gotta end this and we gotta go, but you didn't even have the fucking respect for me to put on a fucking condom, you disgusting. Like, oh my God, I want to curse so bad, but it's, okay, let's continue with the story, okay? Last in the story, she said you can fuck any woman you want, yada, yada, yada. I don't even want that. I'm not a dirty down bitch like you. Anyways, I guess Lisa heard the commotion and came downstairs. Who's Lisa? I guess Lisa heard the commotion and came downstairs. I told her to go back up, but she just walked to my wife and asked her if I knew about Daniel. Up to this point, I was calm, but upon hearing this, I swear even I started tearing up. I asked Lisa if she knew all along, and she said yes. At this point, I'm full on crying, and I asked her why she didn't tell me. She responded with, because unlike you, Daniel buys me things, and I want things I want without having to beg. I then asked, whoa, Lisa's her daughter. Her daughter says, because unlike you, Daniel buys me things I want without having to beg. I then asked her how she could possibly do this to her dad. She responded that you're not my real dad crap. My wife screamed at her upon hearing what she said. At that point, I couldn't bear any of this anymore. I just grabbed my son and got into the car. Oh my goodness. What? Okay, we're going to continue with the story. Me and my son are currently staying at my parents' house. I've basically been drinking myself to sleep every day. No, OP. Thanks to the saint of a mother I have, my son is being taken care of right now. I am beyond hurt. I've canceled my ex-daughter's private school tuitions, all her extracurricular activities, and I've contacted a divorce lawyer. He's going to serve my wife this Friday. My wife and Lisa have been blowing up my phone nonstop with apologies. I simply responded with, get a lawyer and tell that ungrateful thing of yours to start calling Daniel her dad. I'm disowning her. And then I blocked my wife. I didn't respond to Lisa, I just simply blocked her. I guess my wife told her friends what her and Lisa did, and now they have been texting me nonstop. They understand how I feel, but believe I'm going too far by divorcing my wife without hearing her out. They also keep telling me that disowning Lisa is definitely going too far, and she's only a kid and didn't understand what she was doing. I just can't get over the things she told me. I worked my ass off to give my wife and daughter luxuries I could have only dreamed of as a kid, and this is how I get paid back? Lisa, 13 years old. Oh, finally, okay, we know how old Lisa is old enough to understand that hiding her mom's affair is bad and definitely purposely used those words to hurt me. But a part of me believes that there is still hope. A few family counseling sessions later, and we can go back to living the life I once considered a fairy tale. I'm beyond destroyed by this whole situation. A part of me just wants to see them burn in hell, but the other part of me believes there's still hope. Am I really going too far? Is there still hope? Am I the asshole for disowning my daughter and divorcing my wife? Oh my goodness. This is so heavy and absolutely insane. I can only imagine the whirlwind. Knowing that Lisa is 13 would have been great to know, like at the beginning of the story. But he is correct. Lisa is 100% too old. 13, you are old enough to know that cheating is wrong. You are old enough to know that like what you said is extremely mean and extremely ungrateful. Yes, at 13 you are like a little shit. I completely understand. But OP is not the asshole in this situation. And every single time I say, like, there's nothing you can say to convince me that OP is the asshole. Something changes, so I'm not going to say that. But is he going too far? Absolutely not. If you think he's going too far, you need to go to counseling. Because what are we talking about? Like, first and foremost, you knew from the jump that you didn't really even want to get into the relationship with her because she had a child. And that's something that I feel like is like to each their own. And I feel like there is nothing besides a choice. Like, I think with dating, we don't realize that, like, and I wrote a paper on this in college, so I feel like I know this, but dating and marketing are two of the most judgmental things that we do in a society. Okay? Like, if you decide, like, hey, this is the life that I want to live, and so I'm going to date accordingly, and you know that, like, oh, I don't want to date somebody who already has children, that is a boundary that I feel like you should be able to enforce within yourself and within your life, and no one should be able to make you feel bad about that, right? And that's coming from somebody who does not have kids, who I dated one guy who had like a son, and that's how I knew I was early on in my 20s, but that's how I knew that, like, oh, it really wasn't gonna work out. But you don't like shame people for having that boundary and wanting what they want in like in a relationship. And so I think that was kind of like step one where like OP kind of fucked up, where it's like at the beginning you didn't really even want this, but you loved her so much that you changed your mind for someone, and that's what makes this so sinister. That not only the wife was like, fuck you, I'm literally going to just like cheat on you with my ex-boss, but I'm also going to bring in my daughter, my stepdaughter, that you stepped up and parented when nobody else would. And she also, I'm gonna wrap her into this by like literally buying her quietness. Like, that is just a level of mistrust that I can't even imagine, because it's like, at the end of the day, OP, you will never be able to trust either of the two. So the idea of like disowning your daughter, I understand, is so painful, because like you've been in this child's life for so long, right? And you feel like you're like losing a piece of you. But it's at what cost? Like, you keep the daughter and the wife in your life at what cost? At what cost? And the thing about it is that like they're going to be a part of your life no matter which way it goes, because you have a son with mom, right? And so I don't know how like custody battles and things of that nature work in this situation, where like, would mom get partial custody? Is cheating one of those things where like, oh, if you want full custody, you could 100% win like full custody based on the fact that somebody cheated? I don't know what like laws are like in the UK, but I know in like certain parts of America, if the spouse cheats, like I think it's in the South, like if you cheat on your partner in the South, like you most likely can win a full custody battle based on like that fact alone. I don't think that's the case in California, like where I am, but I know in the South that is like a full-fledged possibility, right? And so it's like, you're never going to fully lose them if you make that choice to still allow mom to like be in, you know, the kid's life and stuff, which, you know, may be hard later on down the line, because mom doesn't seem like she is going to be easy to deal with down the line, right? Where it's like, are you getting into one of those relationships where like all you're going to be doing is arguing based on, you know, like based on like mom being butthurt about the fact that like you found out and you want nothing to do with her, you know? Like, I feel like that's the hardest part about like divorce, especially when like children are involved, is that it's there's another level of messy that comes with it that like I don't want to be a part of. Lord, I don't want to be a part of that. But I genuinely, like, there's really nothing. Like, I genuinely think that, like, OP is not the asshole. And, like, you don't need to feel bad for choosing you and your son's life and moving the fuck on. Because that 13-year-old girl is going to grow up. And hopefully through, you know, counseling, and if she grows and, you know, her mom like does right by her, will realize where she fucked up, and maybe there'll be like an adult apology later on down the line, and you can like have some form of a relationship with them. But like, at what cost? You know, at what cost in this very moment? Because you're not going to be able to genuinely trust that little girl anymore. You're not going to be able to genuinely trust your wife anymore. Like, to me, once trust is gone in a relationship, like, you might as well throw it out the door. Like, because how much time do you have to rebuild the trust in that relationship? But on this original post, the top comment is, "Not the asshole. Stop drinking, bro. It only makes the thoughts worse." This was posted 2 years ago. Same with the reply. And OP replied, "I'm writing this drunk, but thank you. I know I need to stop at some point." I love this thread. Honestly, a majority of the thread is just validating OP's feelings and like helping him to get sober. Get sober, eat, sleep, talk to a lawyer, go get tested, DNA test your son. You need the whole picture, all those scary, and just take care of yourself. Another one of the top responses with 900 upvotes is, "I am so terribly sorry. Betrayal like this just rips us in half. Know that there is so many of us out here who have had all kinds of horrendous experiences like this, and we have recovered and realized that the person we loved never existed." And then the love evaporates. It's very interesting. It takes about 2 years. We realize they lied to us every single day. They manipulated us. We wouldn't notice. They triangulated against us, and with the AP in here, and I think they meant to say OP. They triangulated against us with the OP, and here with the stepdaughter, which makes it more spicy as an affair. Eventually, you will repair, heal, and it will be settled. It sounds like you probably pay some child support for a while. You'll get your poor baby tested and figure out what you want to do. And then you'll realize how messed up you were by what she intentionally did to you so subversively. You will start to repair, and you will start to rebuild in your life, and you'll be better than ever. Hang in there. And then he says, "Thank you so much." I teared up reading that. Honestly, the entire space of that Reddit, the replies are all just phenomenal, replies. And so here we are with the update. He updated 2 years ago. So it must have been recently after he originally posted this. But his update reads, "First of all, I just want to thank you guys for the support you guys have shown me. This past week has been the hardest period of my life. Seeing the love you shared with the woman you considered your partner for life just vanish. Hit me worse than anything else. To those who have privately messaged me, thank you, and please be patient with me. I have over 100 unread messages to date and will need a bit of time to respond to them all. I just want to update you on things that have happened since I posted. First of all, I am happy to report that I've quit the alcohol." Yay! Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm so happy for him. "It was tough, but seeing how my life was basically falling apart due to my constant drinking really was a wake-up call for me. As someone kindly suggested, I asked my mom to throw out all the alcohol in her house. The first couple of days were tough with me being more depressed than ever, but I'm doing so much better now. As for my wife, I've had a brief conversation with her, and I have halted all divorce proceedings for the time being." Wouldn't be me, but okay, let's see where he goes. "There is still a lot to navigate and a ton of logistics involved, and my decision for divorce seemed a bit in the heat of the moment. I'm not saying that I'm going to go back to her. I'm just saying I need to reevaluate everything again. What she did was beyond hurtful and irresponsible. If I were to get back with her, she just has to do a lot to make up for this mess. I have removed half of the money in our joint account, and I've stopped paying the lease on my wife's car. I asked her the following questions. Has she been in contact with Daniel since our falling out? She said she has completely cut off contact with her ex-boss and is willing to do anything to make our marriage work. I don't believe that. Why did she go to him / meet him in the first place? She said she honestly doesn't know. She met him at a get-together her old company held, and in her words, they just clicked. They started hanging out as friends, and soon things grew out of hand, and she started bringing him over to the house when I was at work. Oh my goodness! Not only are you having an affair, you're having the affair in our house, in our bed. Y'all, okay, I'm gonna keep going. Did she have feelings for him while they worked together? She said she found him cute, but left it at that. They never did anything or said anything outside of work. I then started asking her questions about our daughter, Lisa. Some of you guys rightly pointed out that she probably poisoned her against me. Why did she bring Daniel around our daughter? Lisa once caught them making out on the couch, and then she threatened them to tell
She threatened them to tell me. They quickly shut her up with gifts and a new phone, etc. And soon enough, Lisa started actually starting to like having Daniel around because of the gifts. Did she badmouth me to Lisa? To this, she just went silent and started crying. She then pressed a bit more, and she finally blurted out that she started telling Lisa that Daniel was her bio dad. This is evil. OP's wife is evil to a different extent. Not gonna lie, after this, I myself started crying and just hung up. I did see a change in my daughter around the same time, and I just chalked it up to her being a teenager, but hearing this just broke my heart even more. I also want to thank you guys for telling me that it wasn't right to put all the blame on my 13-year-old daughter. I wasn't thinking straight at the time, and when I started sobering up, I did sort of realize the mistake I made. I have unblocked my daughter and have been texting with her since yesterday. She has apologized to me, and it seems like my wife, in desperation to get me back, has confessed the truth to my daughter. My daughter told me that she stopped talking with her mother since she confessed. I apologized to her for the comments I made about disowning her, and we have planned to meet up tomorrow at the local park. Again, I just want to sincerely thank you guys for the support and the advice. Honestly, I couldn't have navigated this mess alone without being intoxicated. Only God knows what would have happened if I didn't reach out. I also wanted to apologize for the drunken rant I went on in the comments. I'm beyond embarrassed at the things that I said. Again, thank you for all the support, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. Edit. I forgot to mention the DNA testing on my son. I do definitely acknowledge it being a possibility that neither am I mentally in place to be able to cope with the stress of something like that, nor am I ready to face the reality that I might look at him differently if the test turns out negative. I do eventually want to do a test, but not now during this mess. Oh my goodness, this is such a hard story. I would not get back with her. Like, this woman is capable of not only lying to you, but lying to her daughter to cover up a mess. This wasn't like a little white lie. This was a lie to an extent of like, this man is your bio dad to cover my own ass and my own actions. Like, this woman can lie about anything. And that is something that you don't want to have to deal with. Like, I always say that I don't think like unconditional love exists. It just doesn't. Love is conditional on the fact that you don't cheat on me, on the fact that you don't hit me, on the fact that you don't lie to me. Like, love is a conditional thing. Is it a continuous choice as you are married longer and longer and longer to choose to continue to stay with someone and to be like faithful even during like the hard times of your marriage? Absolutely. It continues to be a choice. Like, sometimes love isn't going to be the only thing that keeps like that relationship going. But to know that somebody has the ability to lie to me in that fashion, I will never be able to trust you. And I think OP is just in a very emotional state right now where he's losing everything. You know, he's losing his wife. He's losing a child that he thought like he had grown to like love and to trust, that he took under his wing. And I completely understand him not wanting to do like the test in this very moment, because there's something so heartbreaking about this for OP, and from OP's perspective of like, I did everything right. You know, I was a good husband. I provided. I was, you know, I took in a child that wasn't even mine and treated her no different. Like, I've been nothing but a good person, but I lose everything because of the mistakes that my wife made. Because of the fact that she was a horrible person, I lose everything, and it just feels unfair. And so I completely understand him being like, I don't even want to do the DNA test on my son because this is all I have left if I choose to leave this marriage, right? But I hope OP, and I like urge OP is not listening to this, but if for some reason this comes on OP's page or you're in this situation, I urge you to understand that like, if you are in this situation or a situation like this, you are not 100% losing these people. Okay? These people 100% lost you. They're still going to be in your life because you share a child together, and you are going to be okay in the situation, but you also deserve to have love and a wife and a family that appreciates you and that isn't capable of just like lying to you. Like there's something about like a family dynamic where like the goal is to like have each other's back and to support each other, you know, within like healthy boundaries. And I just would never be able to trust them again. It would always feel like it is me against them. Like, cause in the end of the day, like daughter-in-law is going to take her mom's side because like she said, you're not her dad. You're not her bio dad. And I think as she gets older, she'll start to realize how messed up that this entire like situation was and how it affected her. But right now, mom is just selfish. Mom is being selfish. Mom doesn't care about anybody else's feelings besides her own. She made a mistake, but just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that you're free from the consequences of your actions. So do with that what you will. The replies to the update is, don't get back together. She cheated, lied to both of you and your daughter, used your daughter against you. She's only sorry she got caught. Best of luck. 100% agree. Somebody else responded to that comment saying, exactly. Wow, she didn't even care that she would be messing with her daughter's life by lying about her fleeing being her daughter's dad. That does not sound like a woman who has integrity. Yes, the key term of integrity is so important here. I get you're being so heartbroken. I get you being so heartbroken at the time and consider getting back with your wife. But I don't believe you will have much peace in your future trusting her. Yes, I'm so glad that like the chat is on my side. You guys hear me, you guys see me, we're on the same page. She sounds contrite and full of apologies now, but her affair was going on for a long time, and the fact that her phone calls were more important than her baby lying in a dirty diaper and possibly being in harm's way. She sounds like she just wants to keep on with her old life, and eventually, once she feels safe, she will start looking around for another partner. I don't think you can trust a spouse who cheats. Good luck. Oh, we didn't even cover that. We didn't even cover the child neglect portion of it. The fact that her affair was so important to her that it was more important than the child neglect that she put on your son. Like, that's also something that you shouldn't forgive in this situation. She didn't care. She didn't care. Like, your son was sitting in a dirty diaper. On top of the fact that if her daughter was so happy with Daniel, why wasn't the daughter at 13 downstairs changing the baby's diaper? Like, there's just so many levels to this that, like, just no integrity. And that, like, a moral complex within relationships is so important. Like, I say this, like, as I've gotten older now that, like, I'm in my, like, later 20s, I'm like, you know what? Someone's moral foreground of who they are as a person is what matters to me more than anything. Okay? Because it's about like your integrity, your character. Like, there are people in this world that like are like, oh, I'm gonna get revenge because you did this to me, and now I gotta go out and hurt the world because somebody's gonna pay for how bad you hurt me. And that to me is a fucked up character flaw to have. And actually, let's talk about this, because I think in the world that is like something that we're missing. I think we're missing the like self like character, and we're missing the caring, like the action of caring of our own self character, right? We are so like hell bent on just like the world around us and like getting even that we almost forget that like, oh, this makes us just as bad as the other person. And I care about my self character, and I care about the way that I view myself of being a good person, that sometimes you let it go and you move the fuck on and just know that the universe, God, is going to give that person their karma back. Like you continuously will put yourself in a cycle trying to get revenge that is just never ending because it'll never feel fulfilled. But what does feel fulfilled is blocking them, moving on with your freaking life, and just trusting that, God and the universe is gonna do what needs to be done. You will be rectified and you can just move on with your life. And I think this is one of those situations where like it's gonna take a lot. It's going to take a lot to like rebuild OP's like self-confidence and self-worth and where he is as a person. I feel so bad for OP in this situation. Like, God, may this love never find me, please. Another response to this story also reads, she said she has completely cut off contact with her ex-boss and is willing to do anything to make our marriage work. Right. And how did she apparently have the strength to cut him off now, but not before the affair began? OP, look at the facts. In the first 3 months of your dating, she never even mentioned having a daughter. She deliberately hid this from you. Oh my God, we forgot about that. We forgot. She's been lying and hiding things from day one. She didn't tell him about the daughter. She let a child sit unattended and unsupervised in a full diaper for how long? So much worse could have happened to him. Household cleaners, etc. She basically risked the kid's life to talk to the affair partner. She had zero hesitation to emotionally manipulate her daughter to keep her affair going. Her immediate reaction to being caught was to hit you. Two things here. Obviously the hit itself, but she never felt guilty and confessed. You caught her. How long would she have kept cheating if you didn't catch her? From the very beginning of your relationship, she has lied to you. A lie of omission is still a lie. And she has lied to, neglected, and manipulated her own children. Do you see the constant pattern of behavior that has lasted 12 years? She has shown you who she really is. Believe her. There is no coming back from this. For your own sake, divorce her. Do not take her back and move on. And that is where I'm going to leave this episode. Honestly, this one was such a whirlwind of like a story that like, babe, we need to take a deep breath before going on to the next story. That was read beautifully. That puts everything into perspective. It sums up everything perfectly. And now we're going on to our next story. Our next story comes from the subreddit titled Entitled People. The original post is from the subreddit Entitled People, and it was from 19 days ago. And then there is an update. Oh, this is an update heavy episode. But the subreddit is titled, My Mom Thinks She Deserves to Move In After Her Boyfriend Broke Up With Her. Hi, sorry, this is all over the place. That's how my head is at the moment. My 20 female, mom 41 female, so mom is 41, OP is 20, is wanting to move back in with me and my siblings. I'll try and keep it short, but basically she and my stepdad got divorced in November of 2020 because he caught her texting another guy. It was messy and he ended up leaving that same night, and we didn't hear from him for a few months, which I don't blame him for since he was going through a lot, betrayal, and needed to process some things. He's still very much supportive and takes care of us kids. I say stepdad just for the story, but I do take him as my true dad. My bio dad wasn't in the picture much at all, and my stepdad took me in as his own when I was a baby. So he is my dad. This is relevant because I feel some people might think I don't have a close relationship with him, but I do. He's the best and I love him. He treats me like his own. After that, she left and moved in with said guy and has left us 4 siblings at home. Wait, what? How did we jump to she's moving in with somebody? This is my reading comprehension taking a turn for the worse. Stepdad, I feel some people might think I don't have a close relationship with him, but I do. Blah, 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 blah. After that, she left and moved in with said guy and left us 4 siblings at home without any parental supervision and has been like that since. Oh, okay. Whoa, that's crazy. So she essentially abandoned her kids for her affair partner because she was cheating with dad and just up and left and was like, bye. Who's the mom in this? Is this Ash Trevino? Like, what are we doing? After she left and moved in with said guy, she left us 4 siblings at home without any parental supervision and has been like that since. She was really horrible to us kids since she moved in with the guy and treated us like we were a burden, sometimes acting like we didn't exist while she played mommy to his younger kids. Me and my older sibling had to step up and take care of us all. Me up until I was a legal age, but I helped. When she left, all she said was, there's more than enough of you to rely on each other, and you'll get it when you're older and have children of your own. No, I will not get being a shitty mom. Personally, I wouldn't abandon my kids for an abusive guy, but maybe that's just me. Sarcasm, in parentheses. She would come back sometimes, but it was only for a day or two to come and get clothes, or they got into a fight and then she would leave. Or they, as in her and her affair partner, got into a fight and then they would leave and she would leave him, who lives 3 or 4 hours away. We got into a huge argument a few months ago when she and the guy broke up and he kicked her out for the billionth time and tried to guilt us, saying kids need their mom and all of that. I told her something along the lines of, when did you care about this 5 years ago when you left us claiming we'd understand when we were older? We're older now, and we still don't understand how a woman can do that to her kids. After that, she got mad, and that's where the argument started. She said some not so nice things about me and my siblings that I won't repeat here, but just know it was things a mother should never say to their kids. It ended with her going and staying at our grandparents and texting my older sibling and I guilt trips and playing victim that my grandparents told us to block her. But, spoiler alert, she went right back to him a few days later. As mom's crappy. After this, my older sibling took her to court for custody of our younger siblings and the house and told her if she doesn't hand over the kids or the house in their name peacefully, they'd out her in court and tell them what she's been doing. Blackmail isn't right, I know, but it worked. My mom gave the house and the kids to my older sibling and claimed to be an unfit parent. That was it. Now, she and the guy broke up and apparently done for good as he's thrown out all of her things. She got a new number and called my older siblings asking if she could have her room back in the house and she would never leave us again. Lies. Shut up. Oh, boo, boo. Can we collectively just throw tomatoes at this mom? We've already turned her room into the youngest and she likes her space. Obviously, we told her no. Heck yeah, children. This is when she started playing the victim card and tried turning it around on us, saying that we are mean and she's done everything for us kids and that our dad turned us against her. We told her dad doesn't even talk about her anymore unless we bring her up, and then she started getting mad, saying we are ungrateful brats again and that we should be thanking her for even giving us the house and not throwing us out like she wanted. She then proceeded to demand that we let her move in and that she wasn't taking no for an answer, that she raised us and that she's still the mom and has the final say. We threatened her and told her that if she tries anything, we would get the police involved. But so far, that hasn't stopped her. She's going to try and move in sometime tomorrow because all she said was, we'll talk in person about this. See you soon. Love you. And honestly, don't even know what to do if she does. I really hope she doesn't go through with it and we don't have to get the police involved. But so far, it looks like that's where we're going. Today, we changed the locks thanks to some advice. Edit. We already have an edit. Edit. Good morning. I honestly really didn't think this would get this much attention. I just posted and went to sleep. I just brought the kids to school and I am at work till noon. My older sibling is at home, waiting to see if she shows up this morning at all. We decided to take shifts, them for the morning and me for the afternoon, so the house isn't left alone. We also contacted our aunt and uncle and on my dad's side for support in this case. Thank you so much for the supportive words and advice. I'll make sure to read everything once I can. Have a good day. Oh my goodness. This is insane. This is giving Ash Trevino. And I can't say anything besides I feel like the kids did everything that they needed to do, like from every standpoint, as far as like stepping up to raise their little siblings, getting the house legally in their name. All of it 100% was the right choice to do. And to be completely honest, this mom just seems so unaware of herself and her actions. And honestly, this is one of those situations where it's like sometimes some people are meant to be moms. You know, like some people are meant to be moms. And this is this is all I can say about this situation, because this is also one of those situations where she chose a guy over her own kids, kind of like the last story where she chose her affair partner. It's always them choosing the affair partner in this case, and for these like for this episode, which is like a weird coincidence because I don't read these prior to like recording and filming, so like these are my genuine reactions to these stories. I read the title and maybe read like one or two like sentences in the first paragraph, but outside of that I don't read them fully. But yeah, mom's a crappy mom, and legally there's genuinely nothing that she can do at this point. There is just like a disconnect emotionally from mom, right? Where it's like, I don't understand how parents feel that like, oh, just because I'm your parent, like I can do no wrong, or like you have to forgive me for any little wrongdoing that I do. Because it's like, first and foremost, the child didn't ask to be here. Like, you had children, you need to step up and now be a parent, right? And just because like these are your children, at this point they don't rely on you, they have no emotional connection to you, they have no emotional tie to you, and frankly they don't owe you anything. You essentially threw them for the wolves as children. They had to grow up earlier than they should have, and you honestly are just a neglectful mom. Because if this were the case, if they got the police involved like months ago when you abandoned children that are all underage, you like mom would be going to jail for neglect of children because she abandoned children. Who knows what circumstance or space that she abandoned them in, if they had food, if they had money to pay bills, like who knows. But it seems like they may have some form of connection with dad, but at the end of the day mom is just like a crappy mom. And in no way, shape, or form do I think that the kids are in the wrong for being like, no thank you, we're good, please like get out of our lives. Because it's like, you can't be a parent and be emotionally like not connected to your kids and then come back years later and try and now have that relationship, because the kids have now gotten used to a life, a world where they don't need emotional stability, they don't need emotional support from parents. And I think we see this a lot with like adults, and I think people on TikTok also like talk about this experience where like they get older, right? And now they're in their 20s and their parents are trying to be like, oh, I love you, and like give them hugs, and it feels awkward and it feels weird and it feels forced. But that's because they didn't grow up with that. And so now it's like, I have completely like continued with my life, grew up essentially without this emotional support. I don't need this emotional support now to function and to live and to be an adult. And so now that you're giving it to me when it's unwanted and it's unneeded, it feels weird and it feels sticky and it feels unneeded. And I think this is what one of those situations are, where hopefully, you know, in 5-10 years from now, mom realizes that like the mistake that she made and she could genuinely just apologize and not use the kids. But it doesn't seem like mom has like the character to be able to do this. Do I think mom is going to show up in the update? I do think she's going to show up in the update. I think she's going to end up having the cops called on her. But the highest comment, this was 19 days ago as of filming this, says, mom tells kids they can fend for themselves, is upsetting to learn that they actually can. Some people, man, 100%. Other Redditors also said, yes, I was glad to see that they changed the locks too. I was going to suggest it. And OP, if she does show up, don't answer the door. Keep it locked and everyone just ignore her knocking. If she doesn't go away, call the police. Correct. Because once you open the door, she can try and like bombard her way in. And now it's a messier situation of physically getting her out of the house than her just being outside sitting on the lawn. You know, but at this point, the house, everything is all in your older sibling's name. This is trespassing on the mom's part. Like, if you call the cops and say, hey, she doesn't live here, my name's on the lease, like, this is my house, she's trespassing, I want her gone. The cops have every right to be like, yeah, you gotta go, and they could process like trespassing charges on her if that's what OP and the older sibling, you know, want to do. But most of the Redditor comments literally just say, if she comes, don't open the door, don't let her in, and call the police immediately. Protect your peace. And I completely agree. So now it is time for the update. OP goes, hi. Before I get into the update, let me just clear a few things up to the best of my ability with my somewhat clueless ass, LMFAO. I saw a lot of questions about some stuff, so I'll answer here. Even though I don't feel like completely airing out my own family and our business, but I guess I did post for the whole internet to see, so that's on me, LMAO. Where was Dad in all of this? After the divorce, my mom kept custody of us kids and he wasn't allowed to be at the house with us. After the messy divorce, my mom took basically everything from him and he was couch surfing on friends' couches until he got enough for an apartment. He didn't have enough room to move all of us kids with him, but he was and is still very supportive and very much in our lives as much as he can be. W Dad. As for the house, the rent was in my mom's name for a while after the divorce until we told the landlord about our situation and were wondering if it was possible if we could get the name under my older sibling's name. I don't know how my older sibling handled the legal stuff, so I'm not sure all what happened. All I know is that it somehow worked out, thank goodness. At the time, my mom was still paying for the rent and utilities, so I guess that counts for something, somewhat. But we did have to make our own money for groceries and take care of the kids ourselves, and she eventually stopped paying for it altogether as we got older. Before, it was moved into my older sibling's name, so that helped us get it into the older sibling's name. Okay, so it sounds like she paid the rent and utilities for like a month or two and then just like stopped and cut cold turkey, which also is like fucked up too, because like what if the kids weren't as like proactive as they were, right? And it was just like random, you know, like on a random like May 1st, it's just like, oh, the rent wasn't paid, now what are we gonna do? You know, I'm glad that the kids were proactive enough to start kind of preparing for it and knowing that like, oh, we can't trust our mother to literally care for us. Number 3. The legal guardian switched to my older sibling. I'm not sure about how and what happened, unfortunately. I just know that they went to court. My mom willingly gave over custody because we blackmailed her, and that was that. I'm sorry, I don't know much about the legal process or how it happened. That's okay. Where we're from. We aren't from the U.S., that's all I'm going to say. Ooh, was this just a British episode of the podcast? It was a British episode. Maybe it was a European episode. I absolutely love that. That's insane. They didn't write in a very like British way. Like usually you can tell when somebody is like not from the USA because they write in a very specific way. They either write in like proper like European English, or they use just like keywords like uni, where you're like, oh, this is a Brit, or like this is an Irishman. But number 5 in the update was, this is AI. This one made me laugh because does our life really sound like an AI story? Weird. I don't know what to tell you. If you believe this is all fake, then move along. I don't know. LMAO. Thank you to those who have given advice and support. Okay. Ooh, and then the real big chunk of the update is actually really long. I think that all the stuff mentioned in the comments of my post, now on with the update. Oh, I think that's all the stuff mentioned in the comments of my post. Now on with the update. I read that wrong. In the morning, I dropped the kids off at school and went to work. My older sibling stayed home in case my mom showed up. I got off at noon and we switched off, so my older sibling went to work and I came home. My mom texted us and told us that she would be there around 5 p.m. We told her once again that we wouldn't be letting her move in and that she needs to find somewhere else to go because it's not here. She replied with a simple, "Don't be like that." And my older sibling told her, "Show up and the cops will be waiting." And she didn't reply after that. She showed up around 3 when it was just me and my uncle here, and my uncle immediately stood up and walked out to talk to her. I called my older sibling and told them that she was here, and my sibling told me to call the cops. I called the cops and went inside after that. I went outside, I saw her screaming at my uncle and was telling him he couldn't keep her from her kids. Bullshit! Oh my goodness! No, you don't want to be around your kids. You want a roof over your head. You want to use your kids. You don't care about your kids. Like, the audacity. I stepped in and told her that no one was keeping us from her. It's our decision not wanting her here. She turned to me and told me not to talk like that to her. I told her I can and I will talk to her however I want because she treated us however she wanted, like when she wanted to act like we were her kids only when it was convenient to her. That's the truth. Of course, she didn't take this well and started getting mad, saying we were being dramatic and that she didn't do anything wrong. That she left us because she knew we were more than old enough to handle ourselves, that she needed to be happy too. I sort of laughed at her and said, "Yeah, how'd that work out?" This argument went on until my older siblings showed up with the younger siblings. They told her she had to leave and that the police were called. My mom told them that she wasn't going anywhere because she was our mom and she wasn't going to let us disrespect her like that. Oh my goodness, this mom is insufferable. The way I would cut her off and never speak to this woman again in my life. My older sibling said that was fine and we could wait for the cops. My uncle tried to take the civil approach and told her she didn't have to make this hard and she could leave and stay somewhere else like with my grandparents. She didn't take too kindly to that and once again started cussing him out, telling him to stay out of it, and even went as far as slapping him. By this time, the kids were still in the car and were getting upset about all the screaming she was doing and told her she needed to stop because she was upsetting the kids. Oh my goodness. My older sibling quickly got the kids out and told me to bring them inside and stay with them. I took them inside and made sure to calm them down until the police arrived. I don't know what exactly happened after that. I was watching from the window, but I couldn't really hear anything, and I was told it was just more arguing on her part. My older sibling told me that she started harassing them because they're non-binary and said some not so nice words about them, which really angered me. Oh, so then she started being homophobic. Eventually, after about 10 minutes, the police arrived and they asked what happened and whatever. And I went out because they wanted my side. So I told them and they asked for documents, and my older sibling went inside to grab everything from the room. The police looked over at them and asked more questions after they told her she needed to leave and that it was up to my uncle if he wanted to press charges for assault. That's when she started crying and saying things, "I just want to be back with my kids," and started apologizing for everything she did. But the police just kept saying, I know, but you can't do anything about that. And if they don't want you here, you can't be here," and things like that. So eventually, she left. And the cops asked if my uncle wanted to press charges, and he said no, it was fine. So that was that. They told us that if she shows up again, to call and she'll be arrested. We don't know where she is or if she's coming back. Hopefully not. Anyway, yeah, that's basically what happened. Oh my goodness, that's absolutely insane. Like, I could have put money on the fact that she was going to come back and try and play this, like, woe is me card. Like, it's just absolutely insane how entitled someone who is just such a shitty person can be. The top comment literally said, "Wow, your oldest sibling is the most wonderful human being ever. How lucky you all are to have each other and your uncle. My piece of advice is continue to be such a strong, loving family, especially these days, is thankfully what you make it. I'm cheering for all of you. Edit for typo." Which is honestly phenomenal. I think that's how they move forward. Like, this is a family dynamic that, like, unfortunately, they do all become closer by this traumatic experience. Those young kids are definitely everybody in the situation, honestly, is going to need therapy, because dealing with, like, grieving the loss of a mother figure when they're alive, or grieving the loss of a guardian figure when they are alive, is something that is just so hard to do. Like, me grieving like the loss of my mother, and she actually has passed away, is one thing. But I've had qualms with like my dad. Like after my mom passed away, I didn't speak to my dad for 2 years, and that was a process that I definitely didn't realize how much it affected me until later on, because in the moment you're just like, oh, I'm trying to survive. Like I have to pay my bills, I have to pay my rent. There's a fire in your belly of like proving them right, of like, oh, I'm gonna be able to do this without you. And it's easy to get lost in the adrenaline of like figuring out how to become an adult, especially in moments where you don't have a choice but to become an adult. And I speak from like personal experience. And then like, you know, you settle into adulthood, you settle into, you know, paying rent and paying bills and being an adult, that at some point you find some peace within it, and you stop and you kind of take a deep breath, and you realize just how like forcing yourself to grow up faster than you should have, how much it affects you. And I just remember like being in that situation and just crying for days. And so it's like in this situation, this is something that like I just hope that OP and the entire family, the oldest sibling, the kids, like they all are able to at some point get therapy and really just like work through this, because this is difficult. This is something that like you can empathize with, but you truly don't understand the way it affects you unless you've experienced it. OP also posted in the comments, continuing the questions here because for some reason they didn't post when I wrote them. 6, the complicated family tree. My 3 siblings have the same bio dad, aka my stepdad. My mom and him got together in 2001, I think. My older sibling in 2002, broke up in 2004. My mom had me with my bio dad in 2005. Then they didn't work out after he cheated on her when I was a newborn, and then got back together with my stepdad almost immediately after, and had stayed together and got married in 2011. Had the 2 younger ones later on and split up and got divorced 4 years later after the youngest one was born. So yeah, that's what I mean by he raised me. He's been in my life since I was in diapers and is the only dad I've ever known. 6 or 7 on his update list, on OP's update list. Our ages. My oldest sibling is 24. My mom had them at 17. I don't feel comfortable with sharing my younger ones' ages online. Just know that they were a bit young when my mom took off with her now ex-boyfriend. But my answer above should give you an idea if you want to do the math yourself. Yeah, these kids are like 10, 12, 11, 13 probably at that point. Because they're probably about, you know, they're 24, they're teenagers, but they're young teenagers. 8, why no one called CPS? Ooh, this is kind of something that I kind of touched on earlier. Me and my older sibling didn't want us to get separated from our younger siblings, correct. My older sibling was 18 at the time when it all happened, so was legally adult. My grandparents and other family members helped us out when they could, but no one had room for us, and we were under the impression that my mom would come back eventually. We also just didn't want to move them from their childhood home and add to the stress and trauma of being left by our mom. Stupid, immature, maybe, but we got the hang of it. What has happened has happened. Oh my goodness, in no way do I think them deciding not to call CPS in this situation was stupid or immature. I think it was actually like a mature situation that they stepped up and that they were able to do it. I think in the situation where if they didn't try, or they tried and they failed and they weren't able to like safely care for the children, then like CPS was like a last resort. But I completely understand at 18 if this was the situation. That older sibling literally deserves the world because they stepped up when nobody could, or like, you know, financially could or had to, you know. And so I don't think that OP should be negative on them for any of the choices that they made with the cards that they were dealt with. And so, sorry, I paused for a quick second because I was reading through some of the replies, and I think a cool reply that was literally edited 12 days ago, so almost 2 weeks ago. As far as number 8, I knew a group of neighborhood siblings like this when I was a kid in the early 70s. Mom was dead and dad was sent to prison. 5 kids, oldest was a senior in high school, youngest around 8. Their extended family helped them all just to live in the house alone for a year until the dad came home. Like you'd see an aunt dropping off groceries a couple times a week and somebody was paying the light bill. I never heard any adult in my family say anything against this state of affairs or mention calling anyone about it. I guess they were loosely supervised by the relatives, but not daily. But they went to school, acted right, kept their heads down, and in rural Missouri in the early 70s was a different place and time. It's possible that the local authorities knew and allowed them to stay together since it was going to be okay. Goodness. These were heavy, heavy episodes, y'all. And that's where we end, actually in this week's episode, because I think at the end of the last story I said that, but I meant story. But that's where we end this week's episode. Please, in the comments down below, tell me what you guys think of this situation. Have you been in these situations? How did you handle these? Do you know someone that's been in this form of a situation? Do you have any advice for OP? What do you guys think in this situation? Are you the mom in this situation? I'd also love to hear a perspective and a take on that. But this was a heavy episode. It wasn't a really super funny one. But as you know, the podcast episode comes to an end. I want to just remind you guys to show empathy to each other, be nice to each other, put more love out into the world, help people when you can, because you never truly know what is going on in someone's life and what they've been through. And I think these Reddit stories just continuously remind us that. So that is the end of this week's podcast. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. If you've gotten this far, vote in the poll down below. Give the podcast a follow or subscribe wherever you are listening to it. And I will see you guys next week. Have a good rest of your day or night or week, depending on when you're listening to this. But bye!